Hello and welcome to another episode of the Footy Form Guide podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Wally, joined as always by my good mate, Harro. How are you, mate?
Yeah, pretty good, Wally. Look, I was fired up last week and I'm feeling the same way today.
I'm glad to hear it, mate. You're up and about. I love it. Mate, let's get stuck straight in. We'll talk about the good and the bad from the weekend, the highlights and lowlights. A lot of highlights again, Harro.
Yeah, mate. No, we're going along nicely and the best bet got up with our old favourite, the Swannies. So that was pleasing. And actually thought we had a little bit of luck in that one, which was nice because we probably owed a little bit. Again, our followers on X, mate, they followed us into 3 more same-game multis, which I think I put up 4 on the weekend. Only 3 got up. So, apologies about that. Probably a little bit below my going rate there. But no. We also had the Cats who gave the Dogs a hiding. We had the Blues at the line. And so, yeah, all in all, mate, there are plenty of highlights there.
Yeah, what did we miss, Harro? Anything we missed over the weekend?
Yeah, so your team, mate, the Hawks, they let us down. That was disappointing.
And I will speak to that at a point too.
Hold you solely responsible, Wally, for that performance, being the Hawks ambassador. And the other one we missed on was the Lions, who were a bit of a shock upset, and well done to the D's. So we missed out there as well.
Yeah, they're exciting, the D's, Harro. They're very exciting. We'll talk more about all of this as we go through. We're going to get stuck straight in now to my selection table and what I got in and out. In. Do you know what's in this week, Harro? Footy. Footy is back. I believe footy is 100% back in. Okay, here's what we got. A cracking Carlton-Collingwood game, even if it was just the last quarter. Absolute cracker. Excuse me. Absolute cracker, and I'll speak to the great man, Nick Dacos, in a minute. But cracking game of footy. Saturday, all 3 games were close and like interesting and fun to watch. Just unpredictably so as well. I think one of them, the St Kilda Adelaide game, was always going to be close. The other 2, well, they came out of nowhere. Both. I mean, everyone thought, I thought Hawks were going to smash Port. Everyone thought Gold Coast would be obviously too strong for Essendon. They both were in the end, but they were a lot closer. So footy is back. On top of that, we had great news this week that opening round is, I believe, officially dead. So that just added fuel to the footy fire that, believe it or not, 18 teams might actually play next week. Wouldn't that be amazing in next year if 18 teams played in the first round of the competition? All right, what else is in this week? Nick Dacos is in, Harro. You can say whatever you want about him. That last quarter is as good a quarter of footy as I've seen in some time. Every passage to goal went through him. He was just involved in everything. It just gave me so much joy. I absolutely loved it. I did, however, there was a point where I would have liked the Baggers to get up for you late. I was loving his game, but I also, I would have loved him for you to win, Harro. I was disappointed, but I just had to call it out because I reckon he was absolutely fantastic. Now, what's out? I got one thing that's out, Harro. Oh, and this should just be out. Okay, we've got rid of opening round. That's great. Awesome. The tribunal. The tribunal needs to go. They need just to burn it down, start again, whatever you want to do. Now, I don't need to go into the details of the Zach Butters saga because it's been covered and everybody that listens to this or watches this pod will know about it and they'll know what happened. But look, if you're not fully across what happened over the most ridiculous 8 days of which the tribunal was involved in, jump on Dan Does Footy. His midweek episode today, this is on a Wednesday, comes out Wednesday morning, and Goz, at about the 10-minute mark of the show, explains perfectly the ridiculousness of what happened. And then my man Joey just chimes in with, it's just a shit story. And I think that's what sums it up. And it all leads into the fact that the tribunal is, and you can throw the ARC into that as well. We're just going to restart a heap of stuff, Harro. But the tribunal is absolutely busted and needs to go. So I'll keep it short and sweet this week. In for me, footy's back, my man Nick Dacos, and the tribunal's out. There you go, Harro. Mate.
Nice work.
Don't worry, you're going to get plenty of opportunity to talk about Dakes across the show too. I should get into some questions from social. What do we think?
Let's do it.
All right, so first one, couple ones off the top. Our man Bobby has said Saints back, Bombers win Anzac Day. Just asking questions, going, boys, I'm going on a Tassie golf weekend this week. It's a boys trip. I need something, so I reckon we will be able to get you a train. We'll be able to get you some SGMs. Don't worry, Bobby. He messaged me about a good place to get a steak, and my recommendation down in Lonnie, which he tried a month ago to get in. So obviously it's a decent one. So we're going to try and find him a steak down there. Next one, Glennie says, tell Wally to leave the tipping to the experts. Couldn't agree with you more there, Glennie. Could not agree with you more. Only just missed the Hawks 10-goal prediction. I will say this. 15 minutes into that game, I was at Marvel Stadium and people were climbing over each other to get to a phone to get a live bet of 100 plus on. I was looking like an oracle early, Harro, and then we fell apart. But, 100%. Don't listen to me. That's on you. If you leave the keys out and your 5-year-old jumps in the car, is it your fault or your 5-year-old's fault? You left the keys there. So don't listen to me. Listen to Harro. Don't blame me if you listen to my ramblings about the Hawthorn Football Club. All right. I joked. I genuinely thought it was a good bet. Okay. Have you boys thought about making a Discord? Well, all I can say is watch this space and you won't have to watch for too long. So stay tuned on that. More to come in the very near future. So that's very timely. And the last one before I throw to yourself here, Harro, was any value in any future markets. And we had a look through pre-show. We liked the $10 about Isaac Heaney last week for the Brownlow. Coleman metal market has opened up again, which we love, but there's nothing. Rising Star's too unpredictable. We had a look. There was nothing really we liked. So yeah. Oh, Harro, just one more from the socials that I have to address. One of our followers that engages and is great, and it was all tongue in cheek. Asked a question after your rage bait on Dacos, trying to recruit players, which I actually love, by the way. Said, is there anybody you guys combined hate more than the Cats and the Pies? Are people not listening to the show? I love the Pies and Dacos. In what world doesn't Wally love the Pies? I've been on the Pies like for years. I love the Collingwood Football Club. Are people kidding themselves? I'll be clear on this. I hate Geelong and Essendon because I'm a Hawthorn fan. If you're a Geelong fan, you hate Hawthorn. If you're an Essendon fan, you hate Hawthorn. You probably hate Collingwood and Carlton too. It's called following fucking football. You have to have teams you like and you hate. I have no issue with Collingwood whatsoever. My teams I hate, to be really clear, Essendon and Geelong, and of course Melbourne because of the fucking merger effort in 1996. That's it. It's simple. Outside of that, I really don't give a shit. And I'll tell you one other thing, Harro. We all hate teams. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Don't get your knickers in a twist if we don't like Geelong or Essendon or whatever. Here's the one thing you have to remember. Harro and I love money so much more than we hate any team. So you don't ever have to worry. The bias will never, ever, ever encroach into what we're doing here, which is trying to make money. So I guarantee you that. But if there is any football fan out there that reckons that they don't have a team they hate, they're kidding themselves. And I just want it on the record. I am a massive Dacos and Collingwood fan. So
just to back that up,
I don't want the heat. I don't want the smoke on them because I haven't earned it.
Just to back that up, Wally, almost had Geelong as our best bet last week and still put them up as a bet. And then you only have to go back to when Collingwood played the Giants, and I tipped Collingwood up that night. So
100%.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. And what you want everyone just to go on and go, hey, guess what? I like all 18. It's not gather round, mate. We're not gather round guy. It's not I love all 18 teams. Let's just have draws every week and every player's amazing. Anyway, we're going to get into it, Harro. I've got a few questions for you. This is the stuff that gets me going. The stuff where our community are just leaning and they just get this shit and they analyze games and they want to talk to you on just a different level. AFL ratings, BetLab have been running a stat that 74.1% of the favourites won this year, but only 44.4% have covered the line. Is this something we need to be watching if underdogs keep covering that line, i.e. the Roos and Bombers this weekend? I love this stuff. Talk to me, Harry.
No, that is interesting. It is good to keep an eye on the macro level of like trends and whatnot. With in terms of you can be looking at it from a point of view of how often a favourite's covering. You could break it down even further and have it like you could look at how often a favourite's covering when the line's 30 and above or 30 and below, things like that. All of that stuff is worthwhile to look at and to try and find trends with, as well as like the total points and all this sort of stuff. So it really is worth keeping an eye on. And we have the line ladder as well, which we'll have to dig out for this year. I haven't actually been looking at it. We're only 5-6 rounds in.
We will get that going, won't we, Harro? Because we shared that every week last year. That was great. Let's get onto that because that's a cracker to have.
Yeah. So these things are worth keeping an eye on, and it is still early, so we'll see what happens. But interesting. 45%. It's not quite a big trend, is it? Quite yet. So, if once you factor in the bookie margin and stuff, you probably need to be going a little bit better than that. But still, it might be a bit of a cue to what's going on. And actually, going back to your first question, I think it was from Bobby. Thanks for the invite to the boys' trip, Bobby, by the way.
Maybe we won't be sending him any mail.
Yeah.
Maybe he won't be getting an SGM. There might be no train.
Some bad mail.
I'd block you on X, Bobby, and then put the train out. You never know, mate. That's brutal. All right, mate, next one. What's your opinions on the following role changes from round 6? Also, do you see most value looking at players increasing time on ground? Okay, so there's a few questions here. Let's start with the role changes. Parish over 80% time on ground the last 2 games. Steele up to 82%. Lawler going to 60% CBAs. Langford wing defence role. Tholstrup Tigers against Tigers with the kick in. So there's a few different things here. Is time on ground is usually just they're coming back in, aren't they, after a break? Yeah. Like if
like the time on ground with Parish, I think he's just been building up to what is probably a normal level for him. Yep. But where he's really benefiting is we saw the Dons change in style in halfway through that Doggies game, and it continued into the following 2 games. And this style just really suits the way that Parish plays. He's able to get a lot more handball receives and a lot more marks now, and he does present. He's a good runner, and he really knows how to present to get those extra disposals. So that change in style, I think, has really helped Parish. Steele, 80%, I think that's just normal for him. I don't think that's going to be something we won't see. Lawler, he went up to 60% CBAs, but you got to remember that Taranto went off at halftime. So that's probably forced in game rather than being something that they planned for. Tholstrup to the back line, look, I didn't see that coming. I tried really hard to position the Melbourne team, and I couldn't work it out on Sunday. There was just so many changes in there, and it was just difficult. So I didn't see Tholstrup going into that role. And it's going to be another one that we'll have to keep our eye on the teams to work it out. And what was the other one?
Oh, the other one was Langford wing defence role.
Yeah, well, he went into that role last week against was a gather round. He went into that role, and obviously he's just continued that again. And look, probably something we'll see more of. And the way the Dons are playing, I think it's good for his possessions and whatnot going forward too.
You definitely saw that. I think because that was in an SGM. I reckon you saw the Langford one. All right, so we'll just keep an eye on those. What checks do you run when evaluating head-to-head ratings, days rest, similar opponents, matchups, injuries? Like it'd be a huge amount you put into it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of put into it, and also just reviewing all of your bets as well. You're getting an understanding of what was the biggest factor in a result. So sometimes you might rate, the home ground advantage at this, or the team changes at this, and often one factor overrides a bunch of other factors. Sorry, depending on the advantage that's gained from that potential factor. So I think just making sure you're reviewing all of your bets and everything like that will give you a good sense for the reasons why one certain factor overrated another. And every bet really needs to be reviewed individually rather than any sort of collective idea. And I think you'll hear in some of my previews, I've got some factors that probably outweigh the rest of the factors when looking at a bet.
All right, Harro, very good, mate. Now it's time to get stuck into the games. And what I will say, as always, is that the head-to-head odds we use here are the best price available on the morning of recording, which is on a Wednesday morning, through Bet Sniper. Our friends at Bet Sniper are obviously fantastic. That's just one of the many, many things they do. So make sure you check them out. Harro, we're going to get stuck in. Western Bulldogs versus Sydney kicks us off on the Thursday night. The Dogs, you can get it as big as $4.60. Sydney's $1.23. The line's 30.5. Who would have thought a couple of weeks ago that the Western Bulldogs would be $4.60 at home against anybody? But down at the Cattery last week, went about as badly as it could have gone, and they are in dire straits here.
Yeah, I mean, I just spoke about one factor overriding all the other factors, and I think the injuries to the Dogs is the biggest factor in this line and where it's got to. I mean, that line doesn't get to that point without injury being the biggest factor. So it basically means that, I can't be backing the Dogs. You just don't know how big of an impact it's going to have. I mean, and so the market doesn't really know how to put a price on it, in my opinion. They've basically put a price on it of about 20 points probably. It's probably not enough. So when you look at it, the Dogs are off, a 75-point loss to the Cats and a 40-point loss to the Hawks, and they're probably only running into more problems now. And they're probably playing a side with the least problems in the comp in Sydney. So also, I've had a listen to the, what's going on around the traps, and it looks like Bont, Richards and Norton, they're all probably going to get named, but they're not all certain to play. So there could, just watch for that. And I think if you're going to back the Swans, probably back them after teams come out, but before the final teams are announced maybe, because you could imagine if Bont's left out when they run out there, the line's probably going to move another 5 or 6 points. Just wanted to talk about Sam Darcy, and I feel like there's a little bit of a curse on anyone who I rate as one of my favourite players right now, and they all seem to be getting injured. Like we saw it with Goulden the other week, got injured, and we've also got Day, one of our favourites, Wally, and now Darcy, one guy that I would definitely turn on to watch. And so it's very sad to see a player of his quality go down, and all fans kind of miss out on getting to watch what he does for the next 12 months. So, not good. But one thing I picked up on was obviously Jezza kicked 10 against the Dogs on the weekend. It was actually funny because I watch most of the footy on mute. Wally, I don't have the commentary on often. And then it got to the end of the game and I had a look at the stats. Jezza's kicked 10? I thought he'd had a good game, but I had no idea he'd kicked 10. So that kind of, I think because he kicked 10-1, it was like he didn't have a lot of the ball, but obviously, obviously a great game still, so well done to him. But it does make you think that the Doggies' backs are still vulnerable as they were last year. And Wally, there was one thing that we know about Charlie Curnow from previous years, and he loves playing at Marvel. And so he gets back to Marvel here, and he's $1.88 to kick 3. If you think he can kick a bag, he's $10 to kick 6. I could definitely see that happening. So outside of that, I don't feel like the Dogs have a great matchup for Papley, who looks like he's in really good form as well. And he's $1.93 to kick 2. So like that, if you want to find a Doggies player for a bet, one guy I've noticed, especially when they've had a few out, is Riley West. He's getting a lot more involved now. He's getting up the ground. He's not playing as deep to goal, and you can get him around that even money to pick up 15 disposals. I like the way he's going about it.
Nice, mate. I had a couple of questions, which I, as I said, have saved from social for this. and I think like good questions. The first one is, obviously the Dogs don't usually tag, but with all the outs, and they've listed a heap, do you think they change things up in this and they're forced to go after a Heaney or a Warner?
No, I think what they will do is they will stack their back line, and they've already been doing that a bit anyway. Yeah. And what happens when that happens is it'll bring in guys like Riley Bice, Blakey, Mills. So I could see those guys having quite a fill-up because I think that Bevo will throw numbers back to try and support his defence a bit.
Now, as a disposal watcher, like a lot of us are that have a bet, Riley Bice is on the watch list as a player that gets the ball a lot and doesn't dispose of it. He had 21 or 22, so he did his job. He got his 20, but I reckon he could add about 25 or 26, Harro, because there's a few times the ball went in the hands and it just didn't. We see him over time, so I'll be keeping an eye on that, but I do like him a lot. The other one was, is Grundy at 25 plus disposals at $2.16 the easiest money of the weekend? Wow.
Well, he does get about as good a matchup as you want. So, and he does know how to fill up on a weak opponent. 25 is high. So they've adjusted up a bit for him. But, forced to bet, I'd back him in, I reckon, for sure.
Love that as well. And if even that's high, you take a few less for his line, it'll probably be 22.5 then, I would have thought, Harro.
Maybe 23.
Yeah, 23. All right, no worries. All right, mate, we'll move on now. Next game, we just got one Thursday, one Friday this week because it's Anzac Day. They have the traditional Anzac Day Eve match, which is Richmond and Melbourne. I did speak about how I don't like Melbourne as a club, but I'll tell you what I do enjoy. I enjoy their footy this year, Harro. They are electric. I think that 6 games in, they're the most exciting team to watch, I think, at the moment. They got probably the most exciting player in Cozzy Pickett. I think you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone else that's more exciting than him. So, yeah, geez, it's not looking great for Richmond at the moment, Harro. $6 for the Tigers. Melbourne's $1.13. The line's 38.5 points. Like, I don't know how much hope you can give the Richmond fans here, Harro. More, let's see if we can give them the punters a steer into something.
Yeah, this is another game, and we're getting to that, we're a third of the way maybe into the season now, and the injuries for some clubs are starting to really build up, and that's really, the Tigers at the moment. And as much as they're doing right, there's nothing really that can overcome a bad injury list. And we even see that with like the Swannies. Like the Swannies had a bad run with injuries last year and they missed the finals. Yep. Now they're having a good run with injuries and they're on top of the ladder and look like going on with it. So it's just a huge factor. And so what I want to look at here is what are the effects for our bets, on this injury list. And I've got a few here for the punters, Walling. Taranto being out is going to allow McAuliffe to hold his role in the midfield. And he looked really good in that role. He moved out from a wing to the position he was drafted to play, which is an inside mid. And I think he had 23 against whoever they played on the weekend. I'm having a blank, sorry. Against North. Yeah, North. So I expect him to do well again in this game against the D's. The other one, Banks goes out with that collarbone. I think that's going to help Sammy Grill. He'll hold down that role in the back line as a bit of a ball user back there. That's only going to help him. As we already spoke about, there were role changes galore for the D's last week. And so we're really going to have to look for teams to see, once the teams are out, to work out whether those types of roles are going to continue or are they going to flip back to what they were doing before. So, keep an eye on that. Someone needs to tell me what's going on with Caleb Windsor. He's fallen off a cliff in the last 2 weeks. He's maintained his role in the midfield with proper game time, but he's only had the 7 and the 12 disposals in the last 2 weeks. So that's interesting. The Tigers, they're conceding the second most in the AFL to inside mids. So we're going to have to look at your likes of your Steele, Cozzy, Cozzy's going great, and Sparrow. They're the guys in there that are probably going to find this matchup to their liking. And look, just in terms of the line, look, the Tigers haven't got within 40 points of anyone since round one. So you go through the list, they lost to Port by 42, the Giants 56, Freo 60, Gold Coast 68, North 75. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier for them this week. So I could only be with the D's at the line, even with how erratic the D's form is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, them and North, they're thereabouts, right? They're sitting thereabouts. It's just how long it can continue for. It could be all season. We don't know. Time will tell. And then we move on to Super Saturday, obviously. 4 games across the card. It starts early with the Hawks taking on Gold Coast down in Tassie. They haven't played down there in a while. I'd say I wouldn't be looking at I don't think Gold Coast ever beaten the Hawks down there, but I reckon a lot of that would have been as a like a foundation team. I don't think that record's recent. Hawthorn's $1.62, Gold Coast is $2.45. The line's 8.5 points. Sicily's out. Dylan Moore's out. Mabior Chol's out. Gunston should come back in, and we'll see from there. I don't think not too much else changes. Yeah, interesting one here, Harro. Interesting one. Gold Coast have sort of been less than impressive the last few weeks. They just fell over the line against the Bombers, but the Bombers were very good. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. Yeah,
I actually think that, Hawthorn know this, and it's the reason why they tried to recruit Zach Merritt. Their midfield is not very good. And I think Port actually exposed that, like what we haven't seen this season, maybe apart from in the Giants game when the Giants midfield got a hold of Hawthorn as well. And now I think they get the most powerful midfield potentially in the AFL in the Suns. The Suns, I've been listening to Dimmer. They're still trying to work out their best team and everybody's best position, and he expects them to be playing their best footy in the second half of the season. And but I think coming down here with getting an 8.5 point start, with the Hawks having a couple out, and really Hawthorn haven't had to deal with many blokes being out at all in the last 12 months. Little bit of disruption there. I'm happy to tip up the Suns getting an 8.5 point start, mate.
Okay. And I'll tell you what, like you got Dylan Moore and Sicily, so which you co-captain and your vice captain.
Yeah.
Just for punching blokes in the guts. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, what other angles have we got around here? Because Hawthorn have been restrictive, although Butters and Horn Francis, by the way, Horn Francis, mate, I saw that live on Saturday. If you talk about the future of the competition, like say if you want to pick 5 players for the future, like Errol Gould and Sam Darcy, put him in that discussion because he already is a star. Yeah. He's so good.
Yeah, he was really good, wasn't he?
Yeah, and so was Butters. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Butters when he moves to a Melbourne club.
Yeah. So I guess the other notes I've got down here was Ethan Reid. He made a bit of a role change on the weekend, went up to a wing. He had 16 disposals, which is a big bump up for him, but he's set at 15.5 now. So it's probably fair, but just be aware of it. Wondering who picks up John Noble's disposals. I don't think the Suns are going to miss him, but someone's going to pick up his disposals. So, sorry,
he's paying. It's been overturned, hasn't it?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not across that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I believe it's been overturned.
Righto. All right. Well, that's good for him.
Yeah.
Someone's going to pick up Sicily's disposals, so you got to think about who that might be. Is that going to benefit the obvious one's probably Scrimshaw. Is he playing? I'd be looking at that.
Yep.
I think that the Gold Coast Suns have actually got a good matchup for the Wizard, who turned it on the weekend, and he had, I think, Will Power this week's probably a good matchup for him. So apart from that, mate, I think this is going to be a good game. I don't have a hell of a lot more for the punters on it, though.
All right, no worries. So if you watch us there, look, as I said, look, this is on Saturday. We're recording on a Wednesday. Teams are going to come out. A few players are going to come in. We're going to work all that out, and then keep an eye on our socials, on X, on Insta. There might be some more information closer to the game. Ethan Reed's a good one. And so, Ethan Reed, is that something you'd probably play as like you'd just try and get? You just play the 15. Oh, mate, you wouldn't. You can't even get the 14 anymore on that. Dude, it's a bit sticky, isn't it?
And look, Hawthorn don't concede high to wingers either. So it was just something I'm pointing out for people to just be aware of rather than...
Just be aware.
Yeah.
I reckon you're right. I reckon Scrimshaw's the one that definitely picks up where Sicily left off. But the other thing is Josh Battle can get a fair bit of it down back too and use it. So we'll just keep an eye on that. All right. Obviously, we've got the Anzac Day game, huge game. So this is the early game. That'll be done before the 3:15 or whatever the game they're teeing off with this year in the Anzac Day match. Essendon's 3.10, Collingwood's $1.40, and I like the Essendon 3.10 price and the 18.5 point start, Harro, and I just need to know why I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. I totally agree. I'll get into it, but like just first off, I love this game. For me, it's one of the
best.
Yeah, it's just awesome, and I love the way that they celebrate the Anzacs. I'm a huge, lover of the Anzac sort of what we do for the Anzacs. And like before kids, I used to make a big thing of Anzac Day. I've been to done the Kokoda Trail and on Anzac Day, been to New Zealand for it, been all over for it. So just, and if you think about your heroes and stuff, Wally, and like Australian icons, everyone thinks of their sports, their sportsmen, like your Kathy Freemans, your Kieran Perkins, your Steve Wars, but like the real fucking champions are our heroes at war, really. And so we all need to, I think, pay our respects to these people. And, if I'm not listening to a press conference or something like that, I've probably got a war history podcast or something going on. So I really love it, mate. And get right into the Anzac sort of spirit. And so it'd be good to see everybody, show a bit of patriotism and get right behind this again. So, yeah, just a little thing from me on that.
Well said, mate. I'm the same. I used to go to the dawn service all the time. I'm going to take my boy this year. We're gonna go to a dawn service this year. Like it's you just pay respects. It's why we're here. It's why we've got the freedoms we have. Why our country's so great is that these people so long ago fought for us to have this. So I'm with you, mate.
So look, we get to the game and look, I really think the Dons turned the corner in the second half of that game against the Doggies. And we saw they've sort of franked their form. Against the D's and then against the Suns as well. So I sort of see the Dons not like a lot of people, and I spoke to this last week. I see them as more of a middle of the table side. And I spoke last week, before they got their injuries, they were like a middle of the table side. They were 6-6. Their percentage was okay. They'd beaten some decent sides. Then once the injuries really took their toll, that's when their season went off track. And now that they're playing again as a fairly healthy side, to me they're looking like a mid-table team. Where do I see Collingwood? I basically see Collingwood as a mid-table, mid to lower table team as well, along with the Dons. So I don't really see much between these two. I couldn't have been less impressed, really, with Collingwood against Carlton. I know they won, but they basically played a team who had 17 men on the park for 60% of the game. You need to consider that, what's his name, Elijah Hollins, basically Carlton had 17 men out there. And with that handicap, Carlton still won expected scoring by 12 points and really were completely in control of the game up until three-quarter time. And where I noticed it really was the midfield. Collingwood's midfield just looked impotent, and Carlton's midfield's probably really not even going that well. And Pendles, as much as I love him as a player, he's been an absolute, champion. I think that, I was watching him quite closely. He did go off for a little while with a bit of a knock, and when he came back on, he was really looking stiff and sore. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's trouble for Collingwood here. And I've got these two teams rated about even, and we're getting an 18.5 start on the Dons. So that's where I want to be, mate. And I wouldn't. This would probably be my upset game of the round. We talked a bit about having upset games and whatnot. I think that this is a potential upset game. So just mark that one down. Outside of that, we talk about trends and everything like that. And I'll just talk about the Pies a little bit. They've conceded the most disposals in the comp this year. They're 16th for scoring. They're 18th for clearances. And they're the second for the most clangers. So they're really not going great, Wally. And I think that all that considered, you can look at some good disposal bets on some Dons players. Look at the guys who have really done well since they changed their style. And, the obvious ones are kind of Merritt, Roberts, Parrish, these types of guys. They've got the form on their side. They've got the good matchup. And so I think that's where we want to be, mate.
Nice. Roberts is just an absolute ball pig at the moment. I love it. He's pretty reliable to be getting around. I will say this as well with Pendles. I mean, like, I know that he definitely got knocked. There was something going on there. So, I mean, there's no guarantee he plays. I know he'll want to and they'll get him up. It's Anzac Day, and the likelihood is they do get him up. But if he plays, is he 100%? I don't know. It's just a shame too, because I would have loved him to get one last Anzac Day medal. Him and Steele Sidebottom have owned that day, and then before them Swanee. It's been, they've just had this. Some of these guys have absolutely owned it. We're talking about it, chatting with a few other people this week, just sort of on favourite moments, and like the Zaha. We're speaking about Swanee and his performance and his match winner, the Zaha Rakas match winner out of the middle, like. And we were talking about some of the efforts. Do you remember the Paddy Ryder wasn't a ruck? They threw him in the ruck and he won the medal. And then he started being a ruck. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Was it Paddy Ryder? I'm sure it was Paddy Ryder. He was playing forward and then they threw him into the ruck. And then from there he won the medal. I have to research that.
I remember, was it Mark McGough won the medal on debut?
Yeah, for Collingwood. I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah.
That's a fair effort.
Yeah. Mate, but like the whole thing is that it's just one of the great days, one of the great matches. It's always a good contest. This shapes like it could be a good one again. And if it's close and Essendon cover the line, and yeah, it should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. All right, so looking ahead to the Saturday night, we've got Port Adelaide v Geelong. And look, Cats will travel over as $1.25 favourites. Port Adelaide $4. The line on this one is 27.5 points, Harro. Mate, Adelaide Oval similar to Kardinia Park, isn't it? Where it's a little bit, Is it a bit narrow as well? It's not, obviously Kardinia Park is very, very narrow, but Adelaide Oval's a little bit narrow also, yeah?
Yeah, Cats play well here. Butters, he can get ready for you-know-who here. He's definitely going to get Mullen, isn't he? And so that's going to be a good battle. Look forward to seeing how he goes with a heavy tag on him. I think they're going to set his line around 25. I just don't think, as good as Butters is, you can be very sure that he's going to get that matchup. I just think he's probably not going to be able to get 25 against Mullen, is he? It's a pretty big, be a good effort. The Cats, I just really struggle with player bets in Cats games because they've just got so many guys who can play so many different roles, and it's really hard to work out how they're going to line up week to week. So where I probably do like in this game is the over total points, and we've seen so far this year the Cats. They've had one game go under that 183 where the line is here, and it was against the Crows in the wet. And apart from that, all the other Cats games are sailing over this line, and they play just a really direct, style of footy, and they're very efficient. And so for that reason, my main bet in this game that I want to sort of focus on here is the over total points, mate.
Yep, very good. So the over total points, which is currently, Harro, sitting at 183.5.
Yeah, happy with that.
That's the line we're currently playing with, and obviously always tell people to keep an eye on the weather because we know more in Melbourne, things can change pretty rapidly, but Adelaide, not too dissimilar. You can get a bit of rain, but all is clear at the moment. All right, nice one. Anything else we want to look at there, Harro, or do we want to move to Freo v your boys, Carlton?
Yeah, let's move on, mate.
All right, Fremantle, Carlton. Fremantle's $1.15, as they should be. Carlton is $6.20. The line's 36.5 points, Harro. More pain coming?
Oh, I would think so. I mean, this looks like a bit of a mismatch to me. And the Blues, they lose Pitner and McKay. And I just reckon they're two guys that they can't replace. And so, Harry McKay, I mean, they've got no one else on their list that can really play that role. Even though he's not kicking bags of goals, he's kind of important for them. So I think that Carlton are in for a bit of a tough one here. Now, I'm also worried about Carlton. I've spoken many times about how the most important thing in a sporting team, it's not like the ins and outs, it's the morale and the belief and the faith. And with what happened with them on the weekend, I sort of see that as something that could really fracture a group. And you could easily lose confidence in the hierarchy, I think, because they've shown, such a poor lack of judgment in this error that they've made around Hollands. And I think that it's going to take them a fair bit to get over this, in my opinion. So they're kind of on watch, Carlton, for potentially being a team that could lose a bit of spirit and camaraderie. And once all that sort of stuff is in jeopardy, your season can go down the drain very quickly. So they're on watch just in terms of if we see them starting to give up in games, I think that's going to be, something that we might be able to use to our advantage anyway. So Freo, they're kind of the opposite. They just want for nothing at the moment, especially now they've got Hayden Young back, who looked brilliant as well, and he's in his first game back. So look for him to keep building as well. And he's just he's a game changer for Freo, in my opinion. Now, where I want to kind of play here is obviously I like Freo. I think that they'll cover at home against the Carlton side, sort of struggling. They can't play four quarters. We know Freo can. At some point, they'll get on a run and kick probably 5 or 6 unanswered and put a gap in it. Where Carlton really struggle, I've noticed this in the past, and I picked out Pickett against the Blues a few weeks ago because I know they can't deal with that type of player. And for Freo, that's Shai Bolton. And his line's 19.5. He's getting a lot of midfield time. He's a very similar player to Pickett. He's got a great record against Carlton. So that's where I'm looking from a player point of view, mate.
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. We saw Amos as well last weekend go really well. Finally, so that if they actually get that 1-2 punch with Tracy and Amos going, Freo, they're going to be really scary, and then that could be the back line operates well, the midfield's great. That forward line operating with 2 genuine key forwards, that could be the thing that finally clicks for them around September. So that's going to be a bit of a watch. I've been watching them closely due to your preseason comments about how they have continually improved, and they have still been a young team. It's still coming together. And it's not just they promise and they don't deliver. So really interesting watch as we head through the season, Freo. Mate, we move on to Sunday games, and we've got St Kilda versus the West Coast Eagles. The Saints are $1.12. West Coast $6.70. The line's 39.5 points for the Saints. Look, they've been all right at times without being great. They also but this is sort of a bit of a different beast. West Coast, they should be beating West Coast at home.
I think they'll be winning, but I think the 40-point line is I think you're going to get a good run for your money on West Coast at that 40-point line. They're not really the pushover that we've seen them be in previous years, especially when they've got their full midfield available, and they have that now with Kelly's going well, Yo's back in the team, Harley Reid going really well. So, look, I think they're no pushover. And actually, I saw on the weekend, yes, they end up losing by that 50 points to Freo, but they were much more competitive than what the margins suggested. And Freo are a lot stronger side than St Kilda. I know they're away from home, but I'm quite keen on West Coast to get within that 40-point margin. Outside of that, mate, we know that there's a few areas where the Saints consistently give up the footy. And a guy like Duggan, I like him in his role, and he's got a line of 20.5. He's covered that his last 2 weeks, and he gets a better matchup here. So happy to be there. Watch for the teams. Look, if DeConning doesn't get named, Big Marshall, he's a pretty high disposal ruck as it is, and West Coast give up loads in the ruck. Bit of a role change, Wally, with Filippo, who was doing a bit of midfield time, got injured, come back into the team, has played mostly as a forward. I reckon he's looked pretty dangerous down there too. So he kicked 3 the other week, and look, I wouldn't mind backing him to kick 2 in this one.
Love it, Harro. Nice and simple there. Duggan, Marshall, if TDG doesn't get named, and a couple of goals for Filippo. If you can't build a SGM around that, well, you can't build an SGM, Harro. So that's very good. All right, we move on now. Next game is Brisbane v Adelaide. I'm actually, if this was in Adelaide, I think it would have been like far more interesting, but it is up in Brisbane. They got shocked down here. They're the sort of team that you think bounce back because, well, they've won 2 flags in a row. They've faced adversity. They've continually come back and they've made corrections. I think that they got a bit of a shock with how good the D's actually were on Sunday. They go back home. They're $1.35. Adelaide's $3.35. Tex Walker coming off the best game he's had in years. And the line's 20.5 points, mate. Yeah, I mean, big ask for the Crows to go up and get the chockies, but they are getting 3.5 goals head start.
Yeah, these two sides have actually been involved in sort of 4 really close games in a row. I think the styles kind of match up pretty well. I think, as far as you can match up on Brisbane in terms of their style, the way they play, the Crows do it pretty well. I mean, Brisbane have probably been getting the points over them more often than not, but they've been really good close games. So I expect that to be the case again, and I'm not really prepared to play at the line here. I think it's kind of well set. I don't think the Crows have hit their straps yet. I think there's a fair bit of improvement to come from the Crows. So I'm just going to keep my eye on them, and they could be a late season improver. And what we saw with the Crows last year was they ran out of puff when they got to finals, didn't they? And so, if you're putting your coach's hat on and whatnot, you'd probably be gearing this season to be peaking at the end of the year rather than the start of the year. And so I think the Crows have actually got quite a lot of growth left in them. And I'll be watching them closely, especially towards the back end of the year, to see if they start hitting their straps. They could be, if they actually started to play their best footy at the back end of the year compared to what they did last year at the front end of the year, they could actually shock a few people and maybe make a prelim or even make a granny if they time it all right. So just got a little watch on them from that point of view. Looking like one thing else, when I looked at these games, they're consistently low disposal games. They're both kind of restricted teams, so it's going to be tricky to find just for something the punters to be aware of. Like, probably not the game to be piling in on with your SGMs and all that sort of stuff. But look, when I looked at the disposal lines, the Crows have got 3 players in their back line, all with 24.5 or 25.5 lines. And, if you look just on these historical matchups, the Brisbane Lions aren't allowing any of their backs to get 20, let alone 25. So I could have a little multi with like Laird, Worrell and Miller, all to go under 25. And if the games continue in the fashion that they have in the past, that bet will win. So that's just a little play. But apart from that, probably going to be a good game to watch. Maybe not an easy game to bet in, mate.
There you go. It's a nice little play there. It's just a little play, and if you multi them up, so if the trend continues, they're probably all affected by it. If the trend doesn't continue, then you sort of don't know what you're doing. So why not multi them up, get a price, sit back, have a small bet, and just enjoy a good game of footy, and then keep your powder dry for the next one. The last game is GWS versus North Melbourne. Now, the Giants are $1.42, North Melbourne are $2.90. The line's 16.5 points. This is a fascinating game for me, Harro.
Absolutely, mate. I looked right into this one, actually, and sometimes I struggle to get right into the last game of the round because it's like I've looked at 8 games already and it's like it's so far away. But actually, when I started to look at this one, I realised how contrasting these two teams are, and trying to work out exactly how it's going to play out It's very tough. But just to give the punters an idea, North are conceding the least disposals in the comp this year. They're conceding the 5th least marks, while on the flip side, they're collecting the 4th most disposals. I think they're 2nd for clearances and 3rd or 4th for marks. So they've got like a really good plan and they're executing it week to week, albeit they've had a very easy fixture so far. So it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain that style against some better opposition. On the flip side, the Giants are the number 1 disposal team in the comp at the moment, and they're about the highest handball team I've seen in recent years. So their styles are just they're just coming from polar opposite directions. These two sides, so it's going to be a really good watch. It really makes for an interesting game, but maybe again not a great game to be betting in. And so I'm probably not going to throw up too much for the punters here. I'll be interested to see how it goes. I've really seen some growth in the Giants in the last 2 weeks. They're getting some players back now. They'll get Cadman, Cornelio and Hogan back this week. They showed a lot against the Swannies, and you know how much I rate the Swannies. With a bit of straight kicking, they definitely beat the line against the Swans. But even, without that, they impressed me just to the eye. So 2 teams that are probably on the up a little bit. Giants started the season slowly, but they're kind of getting some form back now. They're going to be worth following in future weeks. I'm just going to put this one in the too hard basket, Wally. We'll try and learn from it.
Yeah, very good. Very good, Harro. Absolutely love it. All right, mate, before we head, of course, we're going to need your best bet for the round.
Mate, I'm going to go for the Anzac Day game here. I think all eyes are going to be on this one, and I'm going to put up the Dons getting an 18.5 start as the best bet.
Mate, that's a great bet. I love that.
Yeah.
As I said, it was good. And if they cover that, hopefully it means we're seeing a really good close game. How good would like a kick after the siren or a last-minute theatric, Jamie Elliott from outside the 50 or something crazy like that, Archie Roberts streaming out of the midfield and booting one from inside the west. Give us something on Anzac Day. We've got 4 games, Harro, so hopefully we get 4 crackers. Mate, you've been great as always. Punters, hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your Anzac Day. Hopefully you can find some 2-up and some good footy to watch out there somewhere. Get to a dawn service, and we'll see you next week.
And Wally, just I've been getting in trouble off my 8-year-old daughter for not saying please like and subscribe to our videos.
Very good, Harro. Very good advice there. Imagine what you can be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.